Major events in Earth's history, page 172 to 180. Connect it, page 172. Circle any organism you recognize in the Carboniferous swamp. How was life during the Carboniferous period similar to life today? And what do you think conditions were like in this Carboniferous period? Dragonflies' habitat. So, the Carboniferous period has the dragonfly. Then we're going to answer these questions. So, insects such as dragonflies and swamp plants such as ferns lived in the Carboniferous period, much as they do today. It was probably warm enough and wet enough for many plants to grow. Major events in the Paleozoic era. So Earth is 4.6 billion years old. The geologic timescale has been interpreted from rock and fossil records. Precambrian time, there were only single-celled organisms that were living, and then more complex organisms evolved. So that's during the Cambrian explosion. So many new life forms appeared within a relatively short time, and all animals lived in the sea. Some examples would be mostly invertebrates, which do not have a backbone, so like jellyfish, worms, sponges, clam-like brachiopods, and trilobites. First vertebrates and land plants. So Ordovician period, it's when the first vertebrates are animals with a backbone, namely being jawless fish, the first insects, and the first land plants. During the Silurian period, plants grew abundantly, low to the ground and in damp areas. Then on to the Devonian period, drier plants like ferns, vertebrates, and invertebrates in the sea, the age of fish. So that's another name for this period, kind of like a common name. So every group, including sharks with jaws, bony skeletons, and scales, and vertebrates moved on to land. So this is where lungfish evolved into amphibians, and animals that amphibians are animals that live half of its life on land and part in water. During the Paleozoic era, there was the Cambrian, Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian, Mississippian, Pennsylvanian, and Permian periods. Animals and plants evolved further. So we have the Carboniferous period, which is a combination of the Mississippian and Pennsylvanian, which is when there was development of the amniotic egg, which allowed eggs to be laid on land and not dry out. This was when we had the appearance of reptiles, scaly skin, and lay eggs that have tough leathery shells, so that is a feature of a reptile. It's when we had the first appearance of winged insects, huge dragonflies, and cockroaches. We had swampy plants like giant ferns, mosses, and cone-bearing plants. So Pangea formed and caused deserts to expand in the tropics and sheets of ice to cover land near the South Pole. Mass extinction. During the Permian period, there was a mass extinction, which is an event during which many types of living things become extinct at the same time. 90% of all ocean species and 70% of all land species. Early organisms. So write the period during which organisms appear in the fossil record on the top of page 174 to 175. So 175 here, figure 2. This is what we're doing now, just so that you see the images. So these fossils provided evidence of the evolution of organisms during the Paleozoic era, right? The period during which the organisms appeared in the fossil record. So jawless fish appeared in the Ordovician period, lungfish in the Devonian, and dragonfly in the Carboniferous period. Reading check. According to the text, what impact did the amnio egg have on life forms on Earth? And it allowed animals to lay eggs on land without them drying out, so more animals evolved to live in land. Major events in the Mesozoic era. The age of reptiles. Some living things managed to survive the Permian mass extinction. Survivors included fish, insects, reptiles, and cone-bearing plants, or conifers. This is also when dinosaurs first started appearing. So during the Triassic period, the first mammals or vertebrates that control its own body temperature and feeds milk to its young were the size of a mouse. Then the Jurassic period, where dinosaurs were dominant, and the Cretaceous period, where reptiles and dinosaurs were widespread. Birds evolved from flying reptiles and flowering plants, or angiosperms. Another mass extinction wiped out the dinosaurs. Reading check. How did organisms from the Mesozoic era differ from organisms of the Paleozoic era? And the Mesozoic had mammals, reptiles, birds, and flowering plants. The Paleozoic had fish, amphibians, insects, ferns, mosses, and conifers. So basically, it developed more. We have more variety. We have more advanced species. All right, so the Mesozoic winged animals, page 176. Figure 3. This illustration shows an artist's idea of what a Dimorphodon, which is a type of pterosaur, and an Archaeopteryx, looked like. The silent P's really sneak up on you. Did these winged animals evolve from a recent common ancestor? No. List the evidence that supports your claim. The Dimorphodon has featherless wings that are attached to its arms. The Archaeopteryx has feathered wings that are its arms. Explain how your evidence supports your claim. The differences do not support homologous structures. Instead, I believe they both evolved to fly separate from a recent common ancestor. Model it. The end of the dinosaurs. Scientists hypothesize that an asteroid hit Earth near present-day southeastern Mexico. Show how this event combined with the environment at the time contributed to the mass extinction. So complete the comic strip, draw events that led to the extinction of the dinosaurs, label each stage, and add a title. So you need to do this independently. Your drawings need to have labels and the title, and obviously those will vary. Remember that generally we should show something like the asteroid striking Earth, spreading dust through the atmosphere and causing climate change, which led to the death of the dinosaurs. So you can kind of draw that however you want, but just making sure that you understand kind of how that happens. All right, major events in the Cenozoic era. The Tertiary period. Mammals thrive, cooler climate, whales and dolphins evolved. Land mammals flourished, mammals got larger and forests thinned, more flowering plants and grasses. Then the Quaternary period, Ice Ages started and followed by the Age of Humans. All right, so our math toolbox on page 178, we have the Megatherium and the modern sloth. So many giant mammals evolved in the Cenozoic era. The Megatherium is related to the modern sloth but is much taller. Use the ruler to measure the height of each sloth. The Megatherium height is about 6 meters. The modern sloth is about 1 meter. About how many times taller was Megatherium than a modern sloth? Complete the equation below in which m is the height of the Megatherium and s is the height of the modern sloth. So m equals s times 6. Because the ratio is 6 to 1 there. How scientists organize Earth's history, page 179. This timeline shows major events in Earth's history. It is a model that you can use to study events that occur over a geologic time. Note that to make the timeline easier to read, periods are not drawn to scale. Circle the periods during which mass extinctions occurred. So in reading here, we know that we had mass extinctions in the Permian. It says directly in there, and also the Cretaceous. So as we read the events, we can see that during the Permian, Pangea forms and mass extinction kills most species. And also in the Cretaceous, dinosaurs are widespread. Birds begin to replace flying reptiles and flowering plants appear. Mass extinction occurs. So I am not going to read all of those events to you, but I recommend reading those in your book. All right, now it's time for our lesson 3 check. So during which era was the age of reptiles? And that was the Mesozoic era. Then we need to arrange the following organisms in order from earliest to latest appearance. amphibians, jawless fish, trilobites, and bony fish. So trilobites were first, then jawless fish, then bony fish, and lastly amphibians. Name 2 possible causes of the mass extinction at the end of the Paleozoic. So volcanic eruptions and increased carbon dioxide in the oceans caused the mass extinctions. What factors allowed new organisms to evolve and thrive during the Cenozoic era? So the disappearance of the dinosaurs and other animals after the Mesozoic mass extinction led to many opportunities for mammals. Expanding ocean basins and thinning forests created new habitats for species to move into. Why do you think scientists use mass extinction to separate one era from another? Mass extinctions result in the extinction of several different species at one time. When a mass extinction occurs, it allows new species to evolve. Since so many different species evolved after mass extinctions, it is best to separate different eras this way. Lastly, identify a major event in Earth's past and describe the supporting evidence for that event you would expect to observe in the fossil record. To identify a mass extinction, I would expect to see fossils of many types of living things present in the fossil record, followed by the disappearance of those fossils in younger rocks. And that concludes the Lesson 3 check, as well as Topic 4.